During the course of this project, we encountered quite a few challenges, and some of them from the get-go. The design of the interface became the center of the program in order that it would be user-friendly for the players. Several ideas were mentioned, but finally we decided on the version that's displayed in a final program, a lot like what you're seeing on the first slide. And it won't. All right. Initially, we decided to go with the grid layout. However, we encountered immediate challenges and with the buttons as they appeared on the screen. As you can see, they were four on each side, grid layout. Yet when the panels were designed and called, it appeared that they were only inserted overlapped by the buttons, and evidently the panels were not being removed. And of course, this layout wouldn't be acceptable anyway. But when using the code as displayed here, we noticed that we realized that the remove and the repaint action would need to be called in order to remove a panel versus having just to call one and put it up on a screen, pretty much like what you see there. That, of course, didn't work. But utilizing the example that was offered to us in the group guide, here, you can see that you had on here the remove and then add and validate repaint. And that was something we were looking for. However, the problem was it didn't seem like the remove all was working, because we couldn't get this to repaint whatsoever. As much as I've tried for a long period of time, I just couldn't get it. So that's when we decided to go in a different path, like utilizing the example that you had with the tabs panel. So we gave that a try, and that seemed to be working for us. You know, as you can see, this is the example that you used, and this is how we initially had it laid out, where we were introducing new panels, and then we got to introduce the actual listeners like you did here. And that seemed to work, particularly when it came to navigating the screens. They're quite similar, and a little tweaking, we were able to get our tabs in there and remove all the issues that we had with the paint and removal. At that point, we would add tabs for each class and ask you got the listeners to navigate the game freely. Now we were at this juncture, we were able to add the buttons, and we were kind of tickled about that, and the labels, and we began to take shape. Although we still weren't out of the woods yet, we still needed to add the images to the main map and the options panel. And we utilized your example from a suggestion doc, and as you can see, here we're pulling this is the image icons that we're using. And the problem was that we still weren't able to pull them up, because what we did forget was, we didn't include, was putting the 8-ball or the images inside a folder in a project itself. But once we took care of that, we were able to get these images in there and apply the images to the state. And what we did was, instead of moving the images around the state as images, we created a J button, a JB Buddy, which has enabled us to put the images inside of the JB button, kind of use it as I guess, somewhat of a variable for us. And this is the code that's in the control panel, and this is the code that's in a main map. We're able to set the JB Buddy, and as long as it's not empty, we can remove it, and we can set another in there. And by way of using this code, we were able to set our various images that we call. For example, this one has a JB tab options.jb 8-ball, and we have our queen and so forth from that. But so moving on from the images, we were now that the images were available, we needed to concentrate on introducing the image icon to the main map in here, so it can travel around the state. But again, this is the source code for the images, the JB Buddy. Actually, this is our option screen. As it was just being born. We had the instructions, options, credits, play. Oh, actually, that's the introduction screen. But this is also the as it's being born. Our option screen. We had the game buddies, and we were tickled because we got the images there, and we got the panels to come up, the tabs. So at this point, we had we were using our JB Buddy to get around to navigate around the state. That was working well. We also had to get our timer working, and that timer was actually an issue. We had the timer. I think initially when we first submitted on the second submission, we had to click the start button in order to get that there, to get it on there. But at this now, I mean, we can use the billiards, ladies luck, or pick our theme, scroll to the canvases, play the game. Of course, there's no game there yet, but that will be there a little bit later. But using a timer, we have it in a main map where we have it set up a lot like yours that we used from your example. I believe it was in a Click Me game. So this is how we set up the timer. And we created basically the constructor, and we have the method down below. I believe down below. Okay, down below. The method, and we're able to initiate the timer and keep it running just as soon as we get our player on a board and it starts. So that was a major accomplishment, and we were thrilled about that. And the other thing we had to do was we had to get the score operational. And I thought maybe, but if we use a separate class for the score, it might be a good idea. It kind of worked out for us, but I wanted to initially put it here on a main map, but I couldn't get it to work for the life of me. So I saw a suggestion on one of the forums to have a score second class, and sure enough, it works. If I can demonstrate pretty quickly that it does, and I noticed that throughout these games, I should have closed that out. Throughout the games, you have to play the game, and of course there's no game here, so that'll happen just a little bit later. But that's about all I have for this code. The others will be following up very shortly.